Hello everyone, this is Jack. Well, in this video, I'll cover everything you need to know on how to grow lots of grapes like these. Now, I have some Thompsons, some Concord seedless, some candy canes, and some red flame grapes here. All of these grapes are super delicious, and I'll give you everything you need to know on how to grow these. So let's get started. Now, the very first thing you want to do when growing grapes is select the correct variety of grape. Now, some grapes grow from zone 5 to zone 8, some grow from zone 7 to zone 9. So it all depends on which zones you are in and what kind of varieties grow in that zone. I have a separate video that I posted about 6 varieties that I'm growing in zone 9. And these grapes are one of the best tasting table grapes. And some of them will grow all the way from zone 5 to zone 10, depending on the variety.
These vines are absolutely loaded with grapes.
These grapes are really good to add color to your backyard and also add delicious taste. Next, you can buy the grape plants from a nursery, or you can propagate your own from cuttings. They're very easy to grow from cuttings. All you have to do is take hardwood cuttings in winter. Cut the stem 12 inches long that contains at least 2 buds, and then shave off the bark from the bottom of the cutting. Take a deep container, fill it with growing medium, and then make a hole in the soil and plant your cutting right in the soil and press around the cutting. Water your cutting, and in about 2 months, your cutting will start to grow and leaf out and will start developing roots. I made a separate video on how you can grow grapes from cuttings with detailed information, so check that out if you're interested. Next, you want to select a proper area in your backyard or around your house to grow grapes. Now, grapes love full sun. They love 12 to 14 hours of sunlight during the summer, so pick an area that receives full sun. Grapes are one of the easiest plants to grow, and they tolerate all kinds of soil. They tolerate clay soil, sandy soil, loamy soil, any kinds of soil. All you need to do is dig a deep hole and plant your newly started plants in your ground. You can add some compost if you like, but it's not really necessary. What you really want to pay attention to is plant spacing and row spacing, because grapes are vines and they can grow a lot and they are fast growing. So you must plant them at least 6 feet apart, and your row spacing should be at least 8 feet apart. This will give them enough room to receive proper sunlight and adequate airflow so that they don't get any fungal diseases. Now, that's the plant spacing and row spacing that I'm using here. Now, if you're in a house and you are very tight in space, you can actually have them grow on the side of your house on a trellis. If you have a pergola in your backyard, you can plant one grape plant on each one of the posts, and you can actually have the grape plants climb up on the pergola. That way, all the grapes will be up on the roof. Like I mentioned before, grapes are vines, so they do need a trellis. So if you're growing them on ground like I'm growing, you must use T-posts with some wire or some really high tension string to string them and then have them up off the ground and branch out onto the strings. Commercially, they have different levels where they actually keep the main stem and then have fruiting stems. You don't actually have to do that because they do that because they can harvest all the grapes with machines. You can have the grapevines climb up onto the trellis however you like. One thing you do have to keep in mind is have one leading stem coming out of the ground. You must clear all the other offshoots or branches that are coming out of the ground. They're called suckers. So you must keep at least 12 inches or 1 foot of area above ground clear, containing only one main stem. Next up, pest and disease. Now, not very many pests actually bother the grapes. One pest that does bother the grape a lot, believe it or not, is birds. Now, birds actually consider pests when it comes to growing grapes, because when the grapes are ripe and sweet, birds just go for it. And the best way to deter birds is use netting. Now, I've always used, all decoys, hawk decoys, reflective tape. That works for about a week or 2. Then the birds get used to it. So netting is the best way to keep your plants protected from birds. I use wooden sticks to stake the net up. Now, these are just furring sticks. These are 1x2s. These are the cheapest option to use for staking the net. I cut them down to 7 feet so that it's very easy to put the net on and also very easy to walk under it. Now, fungal diseases are very common in grapes. That's why you need adequate spacing to have enough airflow to prevent fungal diseases. Commercially, they put on elemental sulfur on the grapes to prevent fungus. However, at home, you can do that as well, but you can also use triple action neem oil with fungus control. It's an organic option that you can spray onto your plants as well. However, if you have proper airflow in between your plants, proper spacing, the fungus will not bother your plants. Next up, watering. Now it depends on the type of soil you have and how hot it gets in your region to determine how much to water your grape plants. Now we have clay soil here. It's clay loamy soil. It's about 60-70% clay, and I use drip irrigation system to water my grape vines. Now when the grape vines were young, I was watering about 3 to 4 gallons per day in the heat of the summer when the temperature goes above 100 degrees Fahrenheit. However, in spring and fall, I'm only watering every other day or every 3 days, about 4 to 5 gallons per plant. It's better to water long duration of time with the drip irrigation system because the water penetrates deep into the soil and then the roots chase the water, and that develops really deep and healthy roots, as opposed to watering shallow for short duration of time and more frequently. They'll only keep water in the top foot of the soil, which is not really good for the grape plants. Well, as I'm making the video, I'm picking some grapes as well. Next up, fertilizing. Now grapes need a lot less fertilizer as compared to other plants. Now I use 4:4:2 organic chicken manure fertilizer with NPK ratio of 4:4:2, which is very less than other chemical fertilizer, which is 10-10-10 or 12-10-16 or something like that. Now in winter, I apply about 1 pound of 4:4:2 fertilizer on each plant, and with the rains, the fertilizer dissolves into the soil and it's available for the plants in spring all throughout the summer. Now, right in spring, right before the fruit set, I also use potassium-based fertilizer, organic fertilizer, that helps to grow really nice fruit as well. Next up, pruning, which is very important in growing grapevines because grapevines will just take over your yard or the space that you grow in, and you want to be very selective on the branches that you keep to encourage proper growth, have enough airflow, and also have fruit that's off the ground and is not too close to the ground. Now I'm going to be pruning this grape plant. The first rule of thumb is you have to select one leading branch at least for a foot off the ground, preferably 2 feet off the ground, up to 24 inches. So you want to get rid of any other stems that are coming off from the main stem up to 2 feet. So I'm going to get rid of these stems. And this one as well. After that, I'm going to select 2. So there's one main branch going this way, and the second one is going that way, which I'm going to make it go right up on the trellis this way. That way I have one branch going this way to the left and one to the right, and from here more branches will come in and fill up the entire trellis. Like I said earlier, commercially they prune the grapevines a certain way because they want to harvest by machinery. Now at home you can prune the grapevines the way you like it and the shape that you desire. Just make sure every winter you have to prune the grapevines to actually stimulate more growth and more stems that's going to produce more fruit. In winter, coming off of the main branch, keep at least 4 side branches, and then in spring, out of those 4 side branches, more side branches will come in, which will produce a lot more grapes. Next up, harvesting. Now let's harvest some grape and let me show you how to select some.
These are Thompson seedless grapes.
You may know these grapes as green grapes or a little bit light yellow grapes. However, in order to get the full taste, the full sweetness of these grapes, they need to ripen on the vine and they need to be yellowish in color like these. Once they are this color, that's when you know they're packed with sweetness and flavor. I'm growing 10 varieties of grapes here. I also made a video of 6 varieties of grapes that you must grow. Those are my favorite varieties of grapes. So check that video out if you're interested. Now when harvesting grapes, you want to select the grapes that are ripe. If they're underripe, they're going to be sour. But when they're fully ripe, that's when they're extra sweet.
These are red flame grapes and they are bright red in color.
If you find them a little bit light red, they're going to have a little bit sour taste to them. If you find them bright red, there's going to be a combination of sweetness and sourness to them. However, if you get them really dark red, like burgundy in color like these, they are going to be really sweet. Now the amount of harvest you can get from your grape plants depends on the variety. Some produce less, others produce more. Now when the grapes are mature, they produce about anywhere from 10 pounds to 25 pounds of grapes per vine. Now my grape plants are about 2 years old here, and I got all of these grapes just from 4 plants. There are 4 varieties of grapes in here, and I got each one of these varieties from a single plant from each variety, and I have about 30 pounds of grapes here. It's really hard to hold. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you can grow lots of grapes like these, and I'll see you in another video.